Hello, fellow DVDStyler users. I assume if you're watching this that, you're trying to create a transparent and appearing button for your DVDStyler project. If you're anything like me, you kind of prefer to make your DVD menus in Photoshop. Maybe use something else, but just, some program where you kind of have, the power to, modify things on a, character by character basis and all. You're not constrained by, the sort of limited features of a shareware software. You'll export this, save it as a JPEG, and then bring it in as the background. Now you've got this, and that's great. You got the text. You've set that up how you want it, and you could use maybe this to help your users select what they want. If you want to get rid of the text, obviously, so you can double click that and just make it a space. You could change the highlight to something that fits the theme better. I've got these colors pre-selected. You know how to do that. You just select one of these and modify it how you want. And just click add to custom colors and okay, you're good to go. So that's for free. I guess this is all for free. You can enlarge the circle radius. You at least have that option. Hit OK. You can see it's like it got non-existent almost when you change it to space. We'll go ahead and copy and paste. We'll duplicate that button. Yeah. But the other one over here, you do kind of have to imagine it until you've rendered it, and then you can see the results. So there, now you can see we have a nice menu where the buttons only appear when you're hovering over them. The issue is you've only got these options to choose from. You only got a circle, a square, an underline. What kind of options are that, really? You got a couple outline options and stuff, but it's not much to work with. What if I want something to kind of highlight this guy, right? When that it's an Easter egg. That's something I always loved about DVDs, is being able to make hidden Easter eggs. That it's part of the menu and you don't realize it until you're sitting on a certain button. You just hit the direction a certain way, and then boom, you've unlocked the Easter egg. And I mean, of course, with VLC, it's a lot simpler because you just hover over it, and then you're like, oh, look, it's an Easter egg. And this obviously, I don't know if you could tell from the artwork, but this is obviously an Easter film. So what would you be doing if you're making an Easter DVD without an Easter egg? So anyway, for a while, I've been trying to puzzle on how to create my own appearing buttons, custom buttons. And it took a lot of trial and error, but I believe I have figured it out. So that's what I want to show you here. This might work in Inkscape. But you need a program that can output SVGs just up front. If you don't have that, then you might as well forget the rest of it. Yeah, if I didn't have Illustrator and Photoshop, then I might be trying to use Inkscape or GIMP or something. I don't know if they output SVGs, but since I have Illustrator, I will be showing how it works with that. And you just might need to look up some extra tutorials as to how those features and stuff translate to Inkscape. So I'm going to go ahead and redo something I've already done during my testing, and that is to make a custom button Photoshop project. So I'm just going to take the name of my menu here, just sort of change that until it's custom button. And that's going to obviously overwrite that. But this way then you can sort of see what I did that ended up working. I want this guy's outline. I don't need anything else. So I'm going to delete those. I'm going to highlight this guy. Something else to note is that DVD buttons, they cannot have soft edges. There's just no way to do that. So it will be a hard, solid edge when you do even succeed at it. So it's best to kind of prepare for that, to understand that reality. If there is going to be opacity, or lowered opacity, if it's going to be somewhat transparent, then it'll just happen to the whole thing. If part of it's going to be lowered opacity, then the whole thing is going to have the opacity go down as well. It's all going to be one color too. There's not going to be any sort of gradient like this by the time we're done. So something to keep in mind as you're deciding what portion of your thing you want to be your button. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and take this. All right, I'm just going to scale this up before I save it and export it, so that, you know, because Photoshop does a better job of defining these outlines and things. And part of the nice thing with Photoshop and Illustrator is that Illustrator can open Photoshop things. But I'll show you what I would do if they weren't cross-compatible. If I was using two different programs, I would export a version of this as a PNG with the transparency enabled. And, you know, I would put this probably in menus. That probably is a good place for me. I have everything. I always organize my projects this way, and my video projects. There's the things that are actual projects. So your Photoshop files, your Premiere, and things like that. There's your different sources. So like, you know, stuff you've downloaded from the web, 3D models you've made, downloaded, and all this sorts of stuff goes into that. And then exports are usually like the sorts of things that you're going to be passing on to people. We're just going to open that file, that PNG that we saved. We'll open that in Illustrator. Now, if you're an Illustrator user, you'll probably be familiar with this. We're going to use image trace. High fidelity photo. And there you can see, you know, we've converted this. We're going to convert this to outlines. It takes, you know, a grid of pixels that looks like a thing and turns it into, you know, a series of connected points that also looks like a thing. So you'll see what that has done. It's created a group where you've got all of these different things are each like a little layer of their own, a little segment. And so it kind of looks similar to what we had, but each thing is now vector points that could be edited. So what we want to do is start deleting enough of these that we've got more or less the outline that we actually want. Yeah, we want to avoid going too far down, because on our menu, yeah, the base is actually like going to overlap with the P. So you may want to even like kind of chop this off around here. Maybe one way to accomplish that, hit Shift E, you can use the eraser here. So we can kind of like do a little bit of a jagged edge, you know, to kind of give that effect of sort of fading out without actually having to do it. And hold Alt Select to grab everything below there and delete. Yeah, let's keep trying to select the stuff that does not belong, stuff that's going to muddy the outline. I'll try and grab these specs. If there are any more specs too, they'll probably appear on this next step. We're going to select everything. And there you can kind of see where all the points still exist. So it's still a fairly good outline. I mean, yeah, we can maybe get rid of some of this extra. This tool up here is selecting similar objects. So like if there's any other things that are the same color, which, you know, it's the color there is pretty close to white, then it'll find those, even if they're really tiny, and select them, and then you can delete them and get rid of them. I think we can use Control A. Yeah, Control A selects everything as well. So that's, you don't have to go over here and select that to get it. So yeah, now that we've got a pretty good outline here, let's go ahead and hit Shift M. That will give us this tool. Oh, then in order to really get everything, you have to hold Shift to get a block. See, my computer is pretty beefy, but even it is slowing down at this. That takes a while to do. And there you go. That'll highlight the whole thing. You can, you know, change the color back if you want to see it better. And there we go. We've got our outline. That's probably fine. Those might be cool to do those in. I think that detail might even be lost once it's converted to the button. But anyway, so far we've still been saving as a .ai. What we want to do is hit Control Shift S, and you want to select SVG. So I believe that's a different name than anything we've saved so far, so that's good. Save that, and you'll see you get these options. By default, usually I've seen that it goes to 1.1, but you want to save as SVG 1.0 when you're working with DVDStyler. So hit OK on that. And now what you'll want to do is go to Configuration, Create Button from SVG, and thankfully it opens to the same place where your thing is saved, which is, for me, right next door to where I was saving the button. So you can see I've got these SVGs in here. This is the one we just made. So that's the one we want to select. Click Open. And now what you'll see that you have here is you have the ability to construct the button. I think if you just default, then it'll default to just what it sees here. But what you want to do is you actually want to click, you'll see it tells you here, click on image to select an SVG element for a new parameter. So you click that, and it'll give you these options here. I don't know if there's too much of a difference between those, but the path usually serves me pretty good. And, leaving all the options the same. So you'll see it creates this here on this row, and this is a parameter. And by default, it's dynamic, and that is what you want. Now, the next thing that I had done, which was tripping me up a lot, I think, was leaving this as none. I thought that would make it invisible, but you actually want to type in all zeros. Hi there, this is future Steven chiming in to add that I think I've found a reason to, when you create the button, don't put it as all zeros here. Actually, having something to make the normal state look like something is good, because then you can kind of see it on his background, and they don't all the buttons don't all look the same. And it works perfectly well to take a button that looks like that and drag it in here, and then just turn off the normal version in properties. So that's what I ended up doing for both the DVDs by the time I had them finished and stuff. So that's what I would actually recommend, because then you can sort of just glance over here and see which button you want and pull it in. Okay, back to the normally scheduled tutorial. The way this works is, and if you're not familiar with, or I should say, if you are familiar with RGB and alpha channels, then you can skip this, because you already know this. But basically, this controls your red value. These two control your green value. These two control your blue. These two control the alpha or transparency. So, for instance, for the highlight, and actually, in these values too, you will be able to change these later on. But this whole create button screen just provides you a good opportunity to set some defaults for it. So for mine, I like FF, because that, when you have the red and green both at the top and 00 for blue, when blue is all the way at the bottom, then it looks yellow, and so that's a nice highlight color is yellow. But then I don't want that to be fully opaque, so I'll set it about halfway to FF. The way that the FF, the reason why those are accepted numbers is because of a little thing called hexadecimal. You can look that up, but basically the numbers, they go up and they don't stop. They don't reset at 9 and go back to 0 with with a 1 on the next column. They go up from 9 and they go into A, B, C, D, E, and F. So F is the highest number that you can get in that section, and it's about the 15 places, if you count them all, 15 or 16. And so halfway to that is 8. So I want it to be half apparent, so I'm just going to put 88. And if you think about it, if you had 99, or if you had 88, right, and you wanted to divide that in half, it would be half of each of those. It would be 4. So about half of FF is about 88. It's probably not exact. Don't quote me on that. You can look more about hexadecimal if you want. There's more stuff about that, but I'll tell you when you're older. So I'm just kind of typing in something that looks, these values, I've been experimenting with them for a while. They tend to come out a little brown and a little transparent. So those are the defaults that I'll set for this. You want it to be, a color type. there's options for image and stuff. Image won't work correctly, won't work the way that we're trying to get it to work. And you want to make sure that your ID is selected there. I think in this context, the layer and ID are basically identical. If you had multiple layers and stuff, I think it would give you multiple options beneath that. But anyway, for now, you can sort of preview what the highlight and select will look like. Okay, actually, I think something went wrong when I selected layer. That's new. I've never had that issue before. You don't have too much Control Z power here. Let's try. There we go. Okay. So don't change the ID if you didn't name your layer. I think if you name the layer, then you'll be able to get it when you're doing the create button process. I mean, I could test that. Like I'm saying, I just got this to work a bit ago, so I'm still kind of learning all the ins and outs of it. But yeah, you click that, you get this. Okay, so you can see now we've got an outline option because we named it. And I think that is what you want selected. Yeah, we'll go ahead and put in those values again. When they're all at 0, it's basically the color is black and the transparency is total transparency. All right, and now I think see highlight selected. So you see some of this might be cut off for some reason. I think that's just a bit of a bug that occurs for the for a shareware program. Shareware program will usually have its fair share of bugs. But yeah, so then hit save on that. And this is one that I have in here from a previous attempt. The one that we've just made hasn't actually appeared in here. You have to right click and hit refresh and then scroll down. There we go. That'll be the new one. You can tell its name down here. It appears down there. I find a little counterintuitive, but oh well. That's the one we just made. So now you can drag this up here, right? And so there, the button is definitely transparent by default. That makes it a little hard to see and position. So something we can do, we can go to properties. This is that solution I was telling you about earlier, and you can sort of temporarily select a color to be able to see it. So you can put it at the size that you want, and then set that back to invisible. So there you go. We can put some other buttons in here so we can demonstrate how it is invisible when it's not selected. Put one there. Another important thing to note is just don't let your buttons overlap. That will cause errors. And once I've demonstrated this, I'll show you how to sort of make it extra sneaky. Like when people are watching the DVD, how to make it tougher for them to find your Easter egg. So there you go. Got our Easter egg when it plays. So some things to note is that if this is the first button you put into a project, then it'll it'll default to being the first highlighted button. I think we want the show to do that, so we click that, and this no longer is the first highlighted. This is. So anyways, that's one of the first things to do. So another thing is to go into properties. You can see here you have the navigation options. And so by default, these go to none, and by default this goes to the hidden button. But in order to be secretive, let's make this, let's make it go to, I believe this is button 2, or yeah. Which button are we on here? Oh, this is button 3. Okay, so yeah, so then button 2 is this one here. So let's have that go to button 2 instead. And let's have it that if they go up where they should not be trying to go, then we'll end up on the Easter egg. And same thing for button 2. Instead of jumping to button 1, have it to jump to button 3. and none of the other things will actually trigger it. So now let's export that, and I'll use my arrow keys to sort of show what it'll be like for a user navigating through a menu like the one we're about to create. Okay. So you can see I'm using my arrow keys, and it's just jumping back and forth between them. I can't reach the hidden button unless I'm on this one and I hit up. Boom, now I found the Easter egg.
Okay, let's see. Oh.
So there you have it. You can do multiple layers in an SVG, and you can modify each of those. You'll see that when you go back to edit a button, it doesn't quite look the same as it did before. This is the button that we created, custom button 2. They somehow lose the ability to show the highlight. You can, if there are other elements, in the thing, then you can choose those from your dropdown. Oh, you can see now we have ID1. Anyway, but you can click this again, and it'll create a second element. You can modify that to you have it not be dynamic, or I don't know, try to modify something about it. It really doesn't have too much purpose, I think. At least I haven't found a use for that. They use it certainly in their video. Like they have lots of layers on their video buttons. That's a great thumbnail. You can see if you go to edit button here, they've got lots of things playing into this. I think the SVG, it's really just, it's this. And they've got several layers. For some reason, it's hard to see their SVGs in any of that. But they've got all these different elements, which mostly are just staying there. They've only got the one dynamic element. I know most of the world has moved on from DVDs, but I guess if I'm still here, still trying to figure this out, then I'm guessing that there's other people like me out there who want to do the same things. They're having the same issues trying to figure out. They don't have Adobe Encore anymore, and it looks like Vegas has discontinued DVD Architect and stuff. So definitely our options are becoming more slim. But yep, if you're looking for that, this DVDStyler tool, it's completely free, and it's got a nice versatile amount of options. But yeah, there you go. That is creating a hidden button in DVDStyler. Yeah. Thank you for watching. God bless.